Struggle to pick up your horse's feet? Let's go over 2 ways to make you more effective and get the job done. So the first thing we have to do is we have to recognize the how we're asking. Not always what we're asking is what the problem is, it's how we're asking. So when we first start thinking about picking up the feet, where are we putting our hands? Where are we putting our body? And if we're not preparing the horse of what's about to happen, it's a surefire thing that the horse will probably not actually pick the feet up. It also comes down to intention. If our intention is not there, meaning while we want to be able to do it, do we need to be able to pick up the horse's feet? And the answer needs to be a resounding yes. There's no other option but to pick up your feet. There's 2 different placements that people usually put their hands to ask for the horse to pick up their feet, and it's really on personal preference what makes sense to you. The number 1 place that most people end up doing it, farriers, trainers alike, put it on the chestnut, and they like to twist the chestnut in order to ask for the horse to pick up their feet because it makes it uncomfortable for them, and so they try to pick up their feet getting away from the uncomfortability. The second place where I personally actually like to do it is I like to run my hand down the back of the leg and squeeze down behind the cannon bone. Now the reason I like doing it there versus picking up the chestnut is because of where my hand placement is after they do pick up their feet. When it's by the chestnut, you have to run your hand down their leg to be able to kind of grab their foot quickly, whereas when your hand is already farther down there, it's very easy to grab. Now, even if you have your hands at the right place, you're squeezing, you're asking for it correctly, some horses don't actually want to pick up their feet. They still want to be a little stubborn about it. One of the next steps I like to do is actually push them a little off balance. So if I'm using kind of their front feet, for example, I will, as I run my hand down, I'll put my shoulder into their shoulder. And by pushing into their shoulder and kind of pushing them over towards their other opposite foot, it helps them learn to be able to get the weight off of that foot so they can then pick it up a little bit easier. And this can be done on the back foot the same exact way. Now, when we talk about the back feet, it is really important that you make sure that you approach the back feet correctly. When you're approaching that back feet correctly, you do not want to kind of put yourself all the way back there in fear of potentially getting kicked. So if the back feet are the ones that are struggling to pick up, you need to make sure that your placement is correct. I personally, this is something that some farriers are going to disagree with. I will keep my back to the horse, keeping a distance again from the back feet. But when I keep my back to the horse, if the horse were to kick out at me and he were to strike me, most likely what's going to happen is the horse is going to be able to bend my knee in the direction it's already intended to go. If I face the horse or I use my outside hand to the horse, what's going to end up happening if he were to kick, he could potentially make my knee go in the wrong direction. So safety is first. Now let's start talking about how do we get our horse to pick up the feet if all of those things fail. The biggest way to help get the horse's feet picked up is by using a rope. And what I'm going to show you here is when you start to use the rope, you're not going to tie it around the horse's leg, right? You don't want to actually, if the horse were to panic, you don't want to have the horse really tied up with its legs. We want to just kind of wrap the rope around the leg so that way we can use it and we can use this leverage to be able to pick up the horse's feet correctly. So the first step when using the rope is really just getting the horse to become responsive to feeling that pressure, right? When you pull on that pressure, the horse actually lifts the feet correctly. The second step is getting the horse to actually lean on the pressure, but in a positive way. So when the horse picks up the feet, what we want them to do is be able to rest their leg onto the rope or onto your hand. So we want them not necessarily to hold it up, because especially if it's the back feet, we don't want the horse to hold their feet up because that's when they're in striking position. We actually want them to be able to drop that weight lower onto us and be able to relax it. Not lean in a negative way where you're pushing down either. We just want them to be able to relax into our hands. Now the last step is being able to take your hand and run it down their leg and replace the rope with your hand. Now remember, if they're still pulling away from you, you can continue to use the rope until they feel comfortable, because it could be just the sheer fact they don't have a problem with the feet, but they have a problem with you being back there. So you want to build up to kind of building their comfortability with you. So remember this biggest thing, if you actually start to build rapport with the horse, you're going to notice that the relationship is going to improve tenfold anyway. So picking up the feet is really just a symptom of a bigger problem. So if you're looking for ways to build a better connection with your horse, have better rapport, make sure to click that subscribe button, that like button, and make sure to check out these other videos here.